I am that I'm a healer. And I think at the core, I mean, even since I was a little kid, I've always known that my purpose in life is to heal. So if I do it on stage, I do it on stage. If I do it in private, I do it on private. But I know I'm a healer. I love people. I want to see people whole. I want to see people restored, regardless of what their injuries are, whether it's a scratch, a scrape, a scar, a wound, or a bruise. My calling and my purpose, my very existence, is to bring healing. So that's who I am, you
Yes,
know.
sir.
And the Lord just blessed it to where I get to do it on stage sometimes. So
Yes, sir.
yeah.
And same question for you, First Lady.
Oh, wow. Um, Mother.
Mhm.
I am definitely a mother at in here and outside of here. But at the same time, I'm Felicia. And a lot of times the people, the sheep, the congregation hold the bishop to a certain expectation level. And so I want to always stay consistent with my level. And so I meet the people where they are because I tell them they got me, they got Felicia. They look up to their pastor, which is Bishop. And so for me being the first lady, I want them to, if they is something they need to tell me that they cannot say to the bishop, um, I want them to know I can relate because I haven't always been here. As you see, Bishop says he's been doing this for a long time. I'm a rookie. I just came in this thing. And so I meet the people where they are. And so for me, mother, friend, uh, that just wants to, I want to help heal the people also in ways that Bishop can't reach them. So that for me, that's what I think I carry in and out of the church.
And of course, Bishop, you was born in the great Wichita, Kansas. So, like, how was life growing up there?
Well, I grew up in church, and I think Kansas is a good place to raise. Then it was a good place to raise kids, and not that it's that way now, but it's a lot going on since in the 50 years, I've been alive. But yeah, growing up in Kansas, grew up in church, grew up in
Mhm.
Church of God in Christ.
Mhm.
My dad was a pastor with Kojic,
Mhm.
and I went to school in Kansas. I went to college one day. I had
Oh,
gotten a
wow.
scholarship to be the drum major for the marching band for the
Oh,
football team.
mhm.
And then the day I got to college to start as drum major, they got rid of the football team. So my scholarship, so
Wow.
my scholarship, it went out the door, but it forced me to find out who I was in
Mhm.
that context, coming of age, 19 years old, try to get
Mhm.
into college, end up taking business courses and uh, then really begin to explore. I was already traveling a little bit,
Mhm.
already ministering, um,
Yes.
but tried to go to college, try to do what everybody told me that I was supposed to do, and it didn't. God had plans. So
Yes, sir. And speaking of ministry, like, was there like a certain moment that happened, or uh, that led you to wanted to, I guess, go after being a pastor or minister in your community? Because I know I heard some pastors say, "Yeah, I had to call in from birth, or since I was a child, but I ran from it." Was that your case too?
yeah, it was similar. I always
Mhm.
knew that I was called to
Mhm.
to help people, but my baby sister Sarah
Okay. Mhm.
was born with Down syndrome, and I remember uh, my dad coming home and bringing Sarah home from the hospital, and because they couldn't help her, and she was in so
Mhm.
much pain, I was holding her in my arms, and she was biting my finger
Mhm.
as a baby, biting my finger. She had just a few teeth because she was in
Mhm.
such excruciating pain.
Yes.
Um, she had just gotten a spinal tap at the
Mhm.
doctor back in those days, like that,
Mhm.
and she practically died in my arms.
Wow.
And my defining moment as a minister was I knew that I was called to help people in the area of healing and even physical healing, but I felt real terrible that I couldn't do anything for my baby sister. So when she died, I gave myself to this calling right here. I just knew that I couldn't allow anybody that close to me
Mhm.
to die without a fight, as it pertains to prayer, as it pertains to maybe teaching, encouraging, you know what I'm saying? So, it's just that was my defining moment, man. And I was really young, but
Mhm.
I was committed,
Yes.
that's the time I got committed. And I remember at my baby sister's funeral, I
Mhm.
played a song.
Mhm.
And when I played that song on my horn,
Mhm.
the glory of God filled the whole room.
Yes, sir.
I didn't even know why. All I knew was when I was playing, everybody felt the presence of God, and there wasn't a dry eye in the place, including me. And so, man, that's really where it all started. That's when it started to click,
Mhm.
you know.
And for you, First Lady, what was your upbringing like that I guess shaped you into the person you are now?
Well, my upbringing is different from Bishop's. I grew up Methodist. My
Okay.
gra- my grandfather um, is in the Arts Museum. We have,
Mhm.
and my aunt also was the first Black school teacher in Luther. And
Oh,
so
wow.
my
That's
grandfather was
history.
my great grandfather was Reverend M.L. Vickers of
Mhm.
Allen Chapel. And
Mhm.
he had we just knew church back then.
Mhm.
He had built and was the founder of a lot of different churches in, the rural areas in like Spencer,
Mhm.
Luther, in some of those areas. But long story short, I grew up in church and that's all we knew. But when we get older, we kind of go
Mhm.
our own separate ways.
Tell the truth, baby.
I'm telling the truth. We go our ways. So, I grew up with all boys. I had one sister. She was so much older than me. She wasn't around. So I was the baby, and so I had to go where the boys went. and so I had to fight my way. Let me just say that. I'm gonna just break it down. I had to fight my way
Mhm.
through
Mhm.
and then you know, came to IVBC church.
Baby, I think
Yes.
you leave
No,
out.
because I can't go into details. I'll take up
To
the
go,
whole show if I
y'all, my wife, she was a troublemaker. She let the devil use her for a little while. But the Lord got a hold. The Lord got a hold to her and gave her to me. But she was well known.
Yes, sir.
She well known in the streets to beat people up,
Oh man.
and
well, I was around a lot of people that did those things too, but
Mhm.
she's always been sweet and always been beautiful, even when she was causing trouble in the whole wide world.
Oh, that's amazing. So you was the what's it called, the hitman or hit woman?
You got it right, Ontario. You got it right. She's a hit,
I would
but she
say
didn't just hit women. She hit anybody.
I would say this. My dad was military, and
Mhm.
so my background comes from a lot of entrepreneurship as far as business.
Mhm.
And so when I think of something, I usually just go after it,
Mhm.
wouldn't you say?
Without a doubt.
Okay. So yeah, so I always tell people say, well, what you doing today or where you working at today? And I just tell them I have so many jobs I can't tell you what what I'm gonna be doing today. But my job is also, I have so much passion for
Mhm.
people. I started my business, Fabulous Funeral Crownings. I started it before the pandemic, but I really got more involved in the community and doing things to help
Mhm.
our generation, our race, because they wasn't letting people into the funeral homes.
Mhm.
And if they did, it was just a certain amount. And so when
Indeed.
I started really just getting involved because the people were hurting. And
Mhm.
that's where my husband came in, he's a healer.
Mhm.
And I just have a heart for people. And it wasn't about the money or anything. It was just about let me give them a token or something that they can hold on to
Mhm.
because their loved one has passed away. So when I started this funeral crown, I was already doing poems and I was
Mhm.
already doing all those things before I met Bishop.
Mhm.
But then it just took off. It just
Mhm.
exploded during that time. And so for me, again, like you asked me before, what is my calling as far as with that? I'm just a mother that has a heart for everybody and especially children. Wouldn't you say I gravitate to the the young adults? I put it
Mhm.
like that, young adults, and I'm 32 years in with, my daycare business. So I just have a lot of different
Amazing.
things. And of course, I work for the bishop.
And then you just mentioned your daycare business. So that means you definitely have a lot of patience.
Yes, sir.
It
You
takes a
have,
lot of patience to deal with kids, and definitely multiple kids. So,
yes,
uh,
you definitely have to love what you do in order
mm,
to be passionate about it. You got some people that be in the job, any job. That
mm,
can be any job. That can be anything for money.
mm,
When you love what you do, you're gonna get it done no matter what it costs.
mm.
And
And,
that go ahead.
indeed. Of course, Bishop, my introduction to you was I heard you play at the event, and then of course, Apostle Dan Thomas invited us to you guys' church, which we enjoyed. So, of
Great.
course, I want to get into like your music because you're very very anointed and talented,
Thank you, sir.
and like I said, that was my introduction to you before I even knew you as a pastor. But so how did you get into music, like initially?
Well, um, I had been diagnosed with dyslexia
Mm-hmm.
and was getting straight F's in school.
Mm-hmm.
My mother prayed that God give me a gift.
Mm-hmm.
Shortly after that, my dad sent me to school with a trumpet. Band teacher said, "We don't need any trumpet players. We need sax players."
Mm-hmm.
So my dad said, "We can't afford to buy him a sax. This trumpet is my trumpet." And so uh, the teacher gave my dad a number. He says, "Call this number." He says, "They can help your son get a rent a sax for $14 a month." Well, my dad rented the sax. When he brought the sax home, I could play it. I don't know how to
Mm-hmm.
describe it. I just could play it. It's just something just clicked.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
And so uh my dad would force me to take my saxophone to church. And I would on
Mm-hmm.
purpose try to leave my sax at home. We would go to church. And my dad, we would step right into church. The boy, did you bring your saxophone? No, he would drive all the way back home to get my sax and bring it back to church so I could be playing in church.
Oh
And
wow.
so then he put me, my daddy made me play at people's birthday parties I didn't want to play at. Every time Thanksgiving, I had to pull it out. Every time I turn around, I had to play. And so then he put me on a Greyhound bus to Miss,
Mm.
and that was my first missionary trip, so to speak, to Mississippi.
Oh
And when I
wow.
was on that Greyhound bus, I said, "Man, this is I'm supposed to do this." In my head, I'm telling myself as I wouldn't, but man, I must have been 13 or 14.
Mm-hmm.
I was really young,
Mm-hmm.
and I enjoyed it, Ontario. And even though I was lonely, it was difficult because that was a long bus drive. And I
Yeah,
never,
Greyhound's always on
yeah,
trips.
yeah. And I never been away from my parents that long. Plus, by myself, you know,
So,
it was just kind of, I can't believe my dad did that. When I get to
mhm.
heaven, I'll talk to him about that. But that was a little bit, that's kind of low key child abuse a little bit. But no, and then I just started going different places and opening up
Mhm.
for people like the Truth Vets and Clark's sister,
Mhm.
um,
Mhm.
opening up for uh, really well-known people,
Mhm.
like Al Green.
Yes.
And
Mhm.
next thing I started recording, and I loved recording. I would record in
Mhm.
my bedroom, on a
Mhm.
reel-to-reel tape. Have you ever seen those
Yes.
reel-to-reel tapes?
Yeah, yeah.
I
We,
used to record on those.
we actually have one back in Florida.
Oh, really? Yeah, it's nothing like them, man.
I
And
can't
the
get rid of it
sound,
because it doesn't, not too many people use it anymore. So I want to hold on to it.
hold on to it, man. And so I started recording and fell in love with songwriting. And
Mhm.
um, I was traveling with a man by the name of Danny Chambers, and
Mhm.
I written a song. He put it on a recording that was Integrity.
Mhm.
Um, uh, it was a praise and worship was really popular in the contemporary Christian world. You
Yes.
know,
Mhm.
I recorded a song. It was one of my first widely known, like with a actual recording company, record
Yes.
company. My song's been on there, and so um,
That's
ever
amazing.
since then, man, I just been doing it. I do it all the time,
Mhm.
and I love to play in the
Mhm.
minister and travel. Just got back from New York City not too long ago,
Mhm.
uh, in Times Square, and
Yes.
2 years before that, we were at the Lincoln Center in
Wow.
in New York, and um, then been with all kinds of well-known preachers and
Mhm.
evangelists and churches, just spreading the love of God
Yes.
on my horn.
Mhm. And for the ones that don't know, do you play anything outside of the sax?
I'm a producer. I
Mhm.
produce, and I had several acts that I've done for when I was younger.
Mhm.
But I play a little bit of keyboards. I play enough
Okay.
keyboards to get me by. If I need it,
Yeah.
I really need to play, I'll do it. But don't ask me to do it publicly.
Same here.
I can do it in the studio, but don't ask me to do it publicly.
Yeah.
And I can play enough. I can play enough publicly to make somebody think I can play, but don't play. But I play a little drums. I started out on the guitar, then
Okay.
I percussion, congos, bongos, um, flute. I play all the saxes. I play the soprano, alto,
Mhm.
tenor, baritone.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, I play a few instruments.
In your opinion, what is the Charles Martin sound?
In all actuality,
Mhm.
Ontario, I've had people tell me ever since I began
Mhm.
that the sound actually is like a guitar player.
Mhm. I can see that. Yeah.
The tonality. I
Mhm.
used to listen to a guy by the name of Phil Keggy,
Mhm.
and he's considered one of the greatest guitarists that ever lived. But I listen to
Mhm.
Phil Keggy every day, and it just kind of rubbed off when I would listen to his guitar playing so much. My tonality on my horn kind of put people in the mind of a guitar player, and I did unknowingly, you know.
Mhm.
But the Charles Martin sound, song wise, is expressive,
Mhm.
and I like to really maximize the possibilities of melody.
Mhm.
So if I'm playing a melody, if you have
Mhm.
Joe Blow playing a melody, and then I turn around and try to play Joe Blow's melody, I'm going to do as much with it as I possibly can, because I
Mhm.
think melody is what engages the ear
Yes.
initially, and I think
Mhm.
melody can draw people into the song.
Most definitely. And then, of course, you had the album Sacred Hymns. Like, how did that come about?
Man, I love hymns.
Mhm.
And when I started traveling, that's what I started playing is Amazing Grace, How
Mhm.
Great Thou Art, His Eyes
Yes.
on the Sparrow, Great is Thy Faithfulness, all those hymns, man. And I generally, for a lot of years, it seemed like I was only ministering in churches that were predominantly Caucasian.
Mhm.
So, hymns was a way to lock into their culture,
Yes. Mhm.
help them understand our culture,
Mhm.
because you can play an old hymn that was written by somebody that was Caucasian, and you can almost tell. But when
Yeah.
somebody black plays it, it's still gonna have a different feel, you know?
Yes. Yes. You kind of feel it,
So
yeah.
that's how I like to, that's my approach, is I
Mhm.
love to minister to God,
Mhm.
and the people that are there in the congregation, they just
Mhm.
happen to be there.
Yes.
So
Mhm.
I don't ever do a song to the people. I
Mhm.
never sing to the people. I never play to the people. I'll play over them to the Lord.
Yeah.
And I want them to have this experience that I'm having with God while I sing to him, while I play to him. And yeah,
I
that's
think the first time I heard you play, and every time after, I was like, yeah, he's not playing. That was my initial thought. He's not playing to
really.
us, to God, because even I don't know if you aware, but like when you play, a lot of times you're looking like this. So I was like, yeah, we don't even really matter at this point.
Wow.
So it's
Man,
funny
that
that
blesses
you
me
said that
that
because
you
that
that
was my
bless
first initial thought.
that blesses me that you picked that up, man, because I'm not doing it on purpose, but that you picked it up, it lets me know you're in touch with God, and in touch
Mhm.
with his love. So thank you, sir.
So I think it's more so when I hear you, it's not necessarily a performance. It's more so what's called experience.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
then, like I said, you communicating to God through your saxophone. So that's
Yeah.
always a blessing to hear you play. Um,
Thank you,
First
sir.
Lady Martin. Of course, you've done security work. You know, as we say, it's tough, very tough. So, how did what made you want to get into like security?
Well, it was definitely God because I didn't.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Bishop was traveling all around the world, and
Mm-hmm.
he had 15 guys already in place.
Mm-hmm.
And there was some things around the church that they felt they needed a female to step,
Mm-hmm.
at least one female to come alongside of
Mm-hmm.
them and be watchmen on the wall with them. And so I did, and I had to get cleat certified. I had to do everything that the men did. And if that meant go outside and in my heels and walk the parking lot, and we got a big parking lot, I had to do it, you know.
Yeah.
They didn't show me any favoritism, any of that, you know. They truly were my brothers, and it's something that I don't take lightly because they could have called in because before Bishop had the police officers that we had here in the church that went to church here. We still have some of those, but at the same time, for me to get on their level, I had to do it right, not
Yes.
cut corners, you know, like you do in the worldly world.
Mm-hmm.
It was protocol. And
Mm-hmm.
so it wasn't it was definitely God because I wouldn't have never done it myself because I was still trying to get fed when I came in here, you know. And so I kept saying, you know, how am I going to grow in Christ if I am not sitting down? And what we did was Bishop would make sure that everybody that served on that Sunday got a CD of the sermon, or you could get a DVD. At that time, you could get a DVD or a CD of the sermon. And so what security would have to do was go back and watch the videos most of the time because we're in and out. You know, you got have people by doors and things like
Yes.
that. Like I
Mm-hmm.
said back, you know, when I started, that was 2010.
Mm-hmm.
I came to Integrity's Voice of Victory Church in 2006. And
Mm-hmm.
so I started on the security ministry team in
Mm-hmm.
2010. And so it wasn't nothing that I planned or what it was definitely God. It was definitely God. But it showed me you know, that I had to follow order,
Mm-hmm.
you
Most
know.
definitely.
When you have to do things the way you see fit to do them for so long. And then to say, have a man come in and say, you need to do it this way. And this is the way this is. Well, I didn't know church. And so I didn't know how to follow protocol. So everything they had to teach me step by step by step. And that was one of the things when Bishop came in. I said, I don't think I can do that. And he said, I didn't pick you, God did. And he said, and he did.
Sure.
If he chose you, you need to follow through. Just stay the course. Even when it feels like it doesn't feel right or it doesn't feel good, just stay the course. And that's what I did.
So since you wasn't, I guess, used to following like protocols of church, um, was that something that was it like a hard adjustment for you?
No, because I loved what I did.
Okay.
I loved what I did. And what I done was something that I was doing anyway, and that was loving on the people. Loving the people where they're at, because they come in any church, they're broken. Our church is
Yes.
like a hospital. That's one thing Bishop taught us early on. Before I got on the security ministry, I was on the host ministry. And the one thing Bishop taught us was, I don't care what you say or what you done, but when you step at that door, you hug a person they probably haven't been hugged all week long. So
Which is
love,
true.
yeah,
Because a
when
lot
you,
of people, like you said, they come broken or hurt from different things, whether it's family trauma or former church hurt, and excuse me, bills can't get paid, and they might have got laid off. So you never know what people are coming in with.
yes,
Right.
yes,
Um,
sir. Yes,
so
sir.
it's always up to uh, the people to, I guess, look out for each other
Yes,
in a
sir.
sense. Which brings me to my next topic: community. Of course, you guys are heavily involved in community. Like, so I got to ask, like, why is that so important to you guys? Because I know you guys do a lot with the community. You guys just did some stuff with the police department. Of course, you don't always, publicize it, but your presence is definitely in the community for sure. So I
Yeah.
guess why is that so important for you guys to be a part of the community?
Well, Jesus was,
Mm-hmm.
Jesus, and Jesus was so immersed in the needs of people, not just Christians, you
Mm-hmm.
know, or believers. He was immersed in the people. And like we have a few homeless people that they stay close to the church. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, I could come here at 4 in the morning to pray, and I have
Mm-hmm.
homeless people out there. So we're just,
Wow.
I just let them open up the pantry for them, let them get some
Mm-hmm.
food, and
Mm-hmm.
and then when you look at our communities as African American people, our young men need other young men to
Yes.
to be inspired,
Yes.
and our young ladies need other older ladies,
Mm-hmm.
what I'm saying, to
Mm-hmm.
inspire them and to keep them inspired.
Most
So
definitely.
so
Mm-hmm.
community is everything when it comes to church.
Mm-hmm.
And the community is everything even when it comes to music. You know, people will come to church, some of them, just for the music.
Yeah.
They want
Mm-hmm.
to hear something. They might feel far away from God, but they can feel closer to God through a song.
Mm-hmm. Most definitely.
So man, I understand what you're saying. When you say
Mm-hmm.
community, that's so important. It's important to me. And
Mm-hmm.
our neighbors know us here. Um, Sometimes we're loud and they call the police on us.
Uh,
But I think a lot of this community knows if they ever really needed something,
yeah.
there's a place they can come and get spiritual food
Mm-hmm.
and get some clothes or some
Mm-hmm.
or
I
some
think,
actual food,
I think also, I heard you say we don't always publicize it. For for us, we want Jesus didn't tell his every move. He didn't you know what I'm saying? And so we just want the people to come in and receive whatever
Mm-hmm.
that impartation is for at that time, that day. we want it to take place, you know, and Bishop is he's for all. You know, you say community, sometimes you go off and you say, okay, well, I'm gonna separate the African Americans with the
Mhm.
Caucasians. We're for everybody. These doors are open for everybody. We don't pick and
Mhm.
choose. You know, and so we just want them to come into a loving atmosphere because Jesus is love. And so that's what we want when they
That's
come
good,
through
baby.
these doors.
That's good.
Indeed. And I think with you guys not always publicizing what all you do, I think that's another reason why God continues to bless you because, you know, by you doing these different things and not say, hey, we just gave this person this thing or what that thing. It just shows that you genuinely care for people, you know. So, you know, from the community to you guys, you know, thank you for what you do in the community and for people that don't go to your church, the people that's in your church, you know, definitely on behalf of everybody, you know, I
Thank
want
you,
to say
sir.
thank you for what you do.
Thank you, sir.
Um, I want to get into uh, growth. Like, how do you feel like you've grown over the years as a person, Bishop?
Well, to be perfectly transparent, I haven't grown as a person as much as I wished I could have. I have grown, but I haven't grown as rapidly and as much as I wished I could have. And when I say that, I mean growth as it pertains to consistency. Um, because of the nature of my work and the volatility of pastoring, you got you got phone calls every day of tragedies, phone calls every day where they need you right then. You got to disengage whatever you're doing.
It's
Got to
dropping.
disengage. Right, right. We had a precious lady in our church who's dear to us. She lost her mother yesterday. So we had to detach from our whatever we were doing, and we go straight to her care and love on her. And we're so used to doing it. And really, since I've been married to Felicia, it's been a greater pleasure to serve people to a greater capacity because when you get married, you grow fast. So,
Yeah.
so and so where there are times where I was hurting so bad as an individual, I couldn't see to people as like I want. I always saw to them, but I couldn't. I couldn't go to them the way I do now because now I can heal their heart and their wounds. But years ago, I had so many wounds of my own, even as a leader, had so much pain of my own. I could only offer so much. But now that I'm healed, now I'm growing faster. So growth has been where I am right now in what's been going on in my life right now. Growth has been accelerated, and God is catching me up, to be honest with you, to be transparent with you. God is really catching me up as a human being because I was very advanced spiritually.
Yes.
Spiritually, I was way
Mhm.
advanced,
Yes,
but
sir.
but my humanity was crippled.
Yeah.
I was still ministering to people, still impacting people, still seeing lives change, but I was broken and crippled and going through a lot of pain as a person. So yeah, I've grown. I've
And I
grown.
guess with other pastors that's out there that may feel the same way, like what kind of advice can you give to them to help, you know, push through those pains and find healing?
The number one thing a pastor needs to do, if he's healing other people and other people, he needs to go to God every day. He needs to have dialogue with God every day. And I mean dialogue, not just prayer, but he need to be listening to God's voice every day. Even if God don't say nothing to you, God always downloads something in you.
Yes, sir.
So the number one thing you need to do is have dialogue with God,
Mhm.
talk to God, and let God talk to him.
Mhm.
The number two thing he needs to do is rest.
Yeah.
A pastor ain't worth 25 cents in caveman money if he don't get no rest.
No.
Some of us as leaders, we just push the envelope,
Left.
push the envelope, push the envelope. And then we miss out on living.
Mhm.
I'm sorry, we miss out on life because we're so busy living.
Yeah.
And we're afraid to rest because we're afraid we're gonna lose something. Afraid we're gonna miss something.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So number one thing is prayer. Number two thing is rest. And I
Mhm.
think the number three thing that pastors need to do so they can continue to grow, continue to mature,
Mhm.
is that pastors need exposure.
Mhm.
Don't just be around your own people.
Mhm.
Don't just be around people like you.
Mhm.
Pastors need exposure. He needs to be, he needs to go to different churches if he can. He needs to talk to different pastors if he can. He needs to talk to people if he can, and
Yes.
talk to them from the perspective, I'm going to learn.
Mhm.
So if a pastor uh is exposed, if there's exposure in his life, if he's aware of other things, he'll stay inspired.
Mhm.
Anybody that needs inspiration, all they need is exposure. If I get
Indeed.
exposed to new things, I'll stay inspired. So prayer, rest, and inspiration.
Mhm. And
He'll
then,
do good.
same question for First Lady. How do you feel like you've grown over the years?
Oh, I've grown a lot spiritually, um, just all the way around spiritually, though mainly. Um, you have to understand, I just married a whole pastor, a whole bishop, I'm just 2 years, being married. And so it's a difference from what you see and hear versus our life out there and then our life in our house. So there's three things. I told people when I married Bishop, my best friend, my husband, my pastor. And I always made him promise me that he will always be my pastor,
Yes.
and know the difference.
Mhm.
But for me, because I'm still learning walking alongside of him. So when I say I've grown in that area, it would be spiritually, because I wasn't connected like I should have been
Mhm.
first. And so when you have a husband, wife is supposed to follow her husband. Now I do tell him sometime, and this is just for grins and giggles, but I tell him he wakes up at, Holy Spirit might wake him up at 3, 4, 5 o'clock, and he'll say, "Are you coming with me to prayer?" I was like, God didn't tell me that. So, so I probably will never be where Bishop is, um,
Mhm.
spiritually.
Mhm.
Um, but I'm learning as I go. And so if I had to answer that question, I'm growing spiritually.
Mhm.
Because spiritually, you have when you grow spiritually, you learn that you use that tool
Mhm.
everywhere.
Mhm.
It's not just in church, it's everywhere. You gotta do that in the grocery store. You gotta do
Yes.
that
Mhm.
riding in your car. You gotta do, so um I've definitely grown a whole lot. And he didn't tell my business about me being out in the worldly world. So I'm gonna sum that up with that. I've grown spiritually because there's a lot of things and church people will get you to that point. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? And
Mhm.
you be like, "Oh Lord, don't take me back. Don't let me go back." So now I'm just like, okay, I'm gonna pray for you, but you stay
Mhm.
away from me. But I'm pray for you. So that's it.
Mhm. And now, one of the questions I always ask, like when I have couples on, is how do you think you balance her out? And same question for you, how do you think you balance him out?
I think I balance Felicia out in the area of patience.
Mhm.
Um, I don't know. Uh,
Because I wake up on 10, he said.
No, I think in the area of patience with people, patience with life, you
Mm-hmm.
know, whether it's being at a stoplight too long or whether it's in the drive-through, you know, at the place drive-through or whether we're waiting some, I help
Mm-hmm.
her. I help her with patience. You know,
Okay.
the biggest way I help her with patience is just with me, because I'm the type of person I need a lot of patience. And that means with everybody that's around me, it's gonna cost you. If you're around me, it's gonna cost you some patience. You're gonna have to wait. You have to wait till your cue. And even when I used to travel, I'd pull over to if I'm headed to from Oklahoma City to Little Rock, Arkansas,
Mhm.
there's 14 Walmarts on the way to Little Rock, and I'll pull off at least two of them. Because I am never in a hurry. I mean,
Yeah.
she drives faster than I do. I drive slow. I take my time, you
Mhm.
know, and I think patience is one of the areas that we balance each other because she makes sure I'm not too slow.
Mhm.
She helps me be considerate of other people, you know,
Mhm.
in a lot of different ways, not just
Mhm.
on the highway,
Mhm.
but I think that's one of the areas we balance each other out.
Yeah. How do you think you balance him out outside of what his hair said?
I mean, it's basically the same thing. He's so, what you see is what you get,
Mhm.
with Bishop.
Mhm.
Um, and sometimes, people, they know they can kind of get over on Bishop because he's the type he's so loving. Me, I'm that type, like, okay, I need you to see that they're doing this to you. Are they saying this? Are they trying to do this? And I had to literally break it down. And he said, okay, just talk slow to me. And then he's just so patient and loving to where I'm kind of aggressive, but in a good way, because I help him see things um in a different perspective
Mhm.
than what he normally would see things, because
Mhm.
he's just a humble giver. I mean,
Mhm.
humble person. He's a giver. He's
Mhm.
Sometimes I have to always say, God, I tell some of my friends sometimes I didn't know I married the Holy Spirit when I married Bishop. But he's just all the time. I mean, not all the time, because I have taught him how to laugh. I'm not taught, but togetherness, to laugh and smile and have fun. Because the bishop we knew back then, he was straight and narrow, walk a fine line,
Mhm.
didn't, didn't look twice at you, didn't smile. He would nod his head and keep going. And
Mhm.
so I think I kind of told him how to have fun. And because the one thing he teaches is, in here in our church, if you ain't having fun, it ain't God.
Mhm.
And so for me, I've always say, man, yes, it looks good on you when you smiling, So I want the happiness, the laughter that I see in his face. That's what I think I do for him and balance him out, because he's so straight and narrow. It's like, God, man, smile sometime, Our we'll wake up singing, and he can sing, I can't sing a lick, and so it's just it's just like, we hype each other up. I tell everybody I'm his number one fan, and I'm gonna always be that, and I push him. I tell people, all the time, pressure, it means you pushing down on it when it's pressure. So I'm gonna always push him to be his best, and he does the same for me. But the world gets to see him, because they don't see us behind the scenes. I'm always telling him, okay, come on, let's go. You got work to do. I'm gonna be over here. Let's go get this done. We're doing this for God. And so a lot of people like, they laugh and smile all the time, and they said, wonder if it's real. It's us.
Yes. Mhm.
This is us.
Mhm. And I think when people see you guys, I know me personally, I can tell you guys are authentic, genuine people. You want to see people excel at their gifts and their purpose. So that definitely comes off. Before we go, I wanted to ask. Of course, you both have like busy schedules. So, like, how do you balance the businesses, and the ministry work, and find time for each other? Anyone can answer that.
Well, I think that when we are home,
Mm-hmm.
we know that at the end of the day, we belong to each other.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that, you know, togetherness has, ebb and flows. There's times where I'm extremely busy and she won't see me till late at night. There's times that she's busy and I won't see her. But we know at the end of the day, we know that at the end of the day, we're gonna have each other.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Unless I'm out of town, at the end of the day, my baby gonna be there for me,
Mm-hmm.
And even if she's asleep when I get home, I belong to her.
Mm-hmm.
She belongs to me. And
Yes.
and so I think that's an anchor.
Mm-hmm.
So no matter where the wind blows our ship, we have this heavy anchor at the bottom of the sea. We can't go too far away from each other. You know, we don't let too much time pass during the day before we contact one another and say, "Hey,
Yes.
what you doing? What you doing? No,
What
what
you
you doing?
doing?
What you doing?
What you
No,
doing?
what you doing?"
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
amazing.
So
Um, that's amazing right there. So, for the ones that's looking for a church home, and they want to visit the church, like, what can they expect? When they visit All Nation Shepherd's Church.
love
Mm-hmm.
and no judgment.
No judgment.
Mm-hmm.
My heart and her heart, and I know God's heart, is that when
Yes.
somebody walks through those doors, no matter what they feel about themselves, no matter what the world has said about them,
What they go through.
no matter what labels somebody's tried to put on them, um, no matter what issues they have, man, woman, boy, girl, no matter what your sexual orientation is, they're not gonna get no judgment up in here.
Yeah.
And it's even trickled. And it's not just from the pastor and his wife, but even the people are learning not to give nobody no side eye if they smell like alcohol, giving nobody no side eye if they smell like weed. Don't be giving nobody side eye if they dress different, if they got purple hair, if they got earrings in their nose, if they got
Or
a tattoos.
if these boys' pants are sagging, let them come in. They
Mm-hmm.
came to the church.
They came to God.
They came to God.
And God, God forbid if God's pastor or God's first lady or God's leaders or God's people keep the sheep away from God. This is where this is where the Holy Spirit led them. So we're gonna love them when they come up in here. So
Yes.
they can expect to be loved. And if they hang
Mm-hmm.
around long enough, something will happen to them to where they'll begin to love.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Indeed. Mm-hmm.
Like she said earlier, God is love.
Mm.
God is love. At the end of the day, he's love. So
Yes, sir.
that's what it is. That's what it is when they come here.
And then, can you get the address and the start times for service?
Yes, sir. 4501 North Meridian, War Acres, Oklahoma. It's really Oklahoma City, but 4501 North Meridian, War Acres over Oklahoma, 73112, I believe.
And service
And
started.
service starts at 11. And then also on Facebook, you can watch us on Champions Church OKC or Champions Church Oklahoma. And then, or you can go Charles.Martin dot 1694. And actually, you can watch us on YouTube. We're streaming on YouTube, or they can watch us on www.championschurch.faith.
Okay. And then
And
if they want
we're
to sow a
online
seed, I'm
Wednesdays
sorry.
also. We're
I'm
we're
sorry.
on Wednesdays also, but we're
On
not.
Wednesdays,
We're on live.
On Wednesdays, it's Charles.Martin.1694.
Okay. And then if a person just want to sow a seed into the church, how can they do so?
Oh, they can go to championschurch.faith, and it has a place where you can give, or they can go to not FaceTime, but Cash App,
Mhm.
Champions Church OKC, lowercase.
Oh,
Okay.
Lowercase.
And my last question for the day is, how can they book you either for music performance or a sermon, or if somebody needs some security or daycare, how can they get you as well? First thing.
You can email me, Dr. Charles Martin at yahoo.com. I'm sorry, Dr. Charles Martin 41, the number 4 and then the number 1. Dr. Charles Martin 41 at yahoo.com.
and my
Can you
did
can hear me?
what
Okay.
did you do?
Okay. Can you hear me?
I can now. That's good.
Yes. Yeah. Dr. Charles Martin 41 at yahoo.com.
And mine is Felicia, FELICIACLANTON.
Okay. Oh, we lost you. We went away and we just came back. So
Okay.
let's pick up from where how they can book you.
Okay. You can contact me at Dr. Charles Martin, is lowercase DrCharlesMartin 41. Dr. Charles Martin 41 at yahoo.com.
Okay.
Mhm.
Awesome. And then for the ones that need some daycare services, security, how can they reach you?
You can email me for daycare, or they can just type in Felicia Clanton at okdhs.com, or they can go to OKDHS licensing and they can find me on there, or you can just email me at Felicia Clanton, the number 47 at gmail.com.
What
And
she's doing now is for free rooms.
I was just
Okay.
get there.
Mhm.
And so you can go to my website. It's fabulousfurrowcrownings.com for booking with that.
Okay. All right. So for the radio listeners, we was joined again by the one and only Bishop Charles Martin and First Lady Felicia Martin. So again, if you're listening on radio, keep it locked here on the Reshard Show. Coming up, we have King of Zion by Bishop Charles Martin right here on the Reshard Show. Keep it locked here for the best in gospel music. We got it, guys.
All right.
Thank you, Ontario.
Definitely appreciate you guys sharing your time and your wisdom and your stories. I definitely enjoyed it. And so basically what's going to happen now, we're going to mix and master for radio, and then it'll air tomorrow.
Awesome.
I'm going to take different snippets from the Zoom, and I'm going to upload to Facebook and YouTube as well.
Awesome.
Okay.
And then I'll just tag you guys in it so you guys can get the footage as well.
Share it with people. Share your live with people.
Yes, sir. So I definitely appreciate you guys, like for real, for real. Of course,
we appreciate
you.
you.
Let us know.
We appreciate you, man. We love you.
Thank you so much.
Love y'all too.
Okay.
All right.
Bye-bye.
All right.
Peace, y'all.